I wanna cozy up with you, fire golden and Joni's blue. I wanna float away with you, river running to somewhere new with you.
Good evening. Hi, I'm Mike Jones, and welcome to Cancer Cottage / Healing Hut. I'll tell you a little bit about my story as here's an introduction, and then we'll get started in the series. I follow several people who do YouTube video channels on restoration of old stone buildings. I really love old stone buildings, such as houses, and a couple in Italy. There's some in the UK I follow. And I just got the idea, why not I do my own? Because there's a twist to my story that might make it interesting for people, especially people who are struggling with chronic illnesses or cancer or things like that. So let me just give you a little bit of background tonight, and then our next episode would start right out with the construction part of this, for better or worse. It had been my dream at retirement to go overseas at least part of the year. I would go full time, but my wife, and she's more rational than me, we have 5 adult children in America, that she did not want to move overseas full time because our children would be back in the States. But anyway, my plan was to go part time and spend, say, 3 months out of the year of restoring a very old stone cottage of some sort. You know, the older, the better, to a point. I mean, I don't want to, I've seen some of these shows where they try to restore a 600-year-old house, and it's mostly rotten wood, so I didn't want to do that. So that was my dream, my passion. I'd started looking for land all overseas, different places, and that was my plan. And then in 2019, at the height of my career as a physician associate in neurology, a headache specialist, I became very, very ill suddenly, and I was put in ICU, and they're trying to figure out what the heck was wrong with me. They knew I was in renal failure, but then the diagnosis was multiple myeloma, a cancer of the, which is a cancer of the bone marrow and the immune system. And I had to go on dialysis. My multiple myeloma, this protein it makes, that's part of the cancer, can destroy the kidneys in about a third of the cases, and that's what happened to me. Other people, they start with diagnosis after broken bones because the cancer in the bone marrow eats through the bones. Anyway, so I was a very, very sick guy on dialysis, doing aggressive chemotherapy in preparation for a bone marrow transplant, which I did that summer. And for me, the bone marrow transplant was really intense. I mean, I call it summer camp at Auschwitz. And no, I don't want to downplay the horrors of Auschwitz. This was tongue in cheek, but it was a brutal process. And then I developed graft versus host disease. But the worst part of it was 90 days after the bone marrow transplant, $1 million procedure. I showed up at my oncologist's office for the 90-day follow-up, and I never forget his words to me was, well, that bone marrow transplant did you no damn bit of good, because my numbers were unchanged. I was profoundly depressed. But it wasn't, it wasn't an emotional depression. It was just a reaction to reality that I knew my days were numbered on this earth. The misery. I knew that I would not have any more days of where I would feel good because I felt so bad at the time. I was also put in quarantine because after bone marrow transplant, you can't really be out in public. And then I came out of quarantine for 2 months, and COVID hit. And then I had to go back in quarantine for the next 2.5 years. And I'm in quarantine. They only left my house for medical appointments. Now, I am blessed that I live on a beautiful property on a lake. You can't see it now. I don't think you can see it. The sun has gone down. On a beautiful lake, a mountain lake. Mountains on the other side of the lake. And we have the lake almost to ourselves. We live on an island surrounded by salt water. So it's just a wonderful place to be a hermit. And I don't want to talk negatively about that part of the experience. To make a long story short, during the COVID years, I was profoundly alone. My wife works was working as a hospital administrator and had to work 12-hour days, and I was by myself with my St. Bernard full-time. And I know a lot of people deal with the loneliness. I have friends who they don't have any kids, their spouse has died, and I imagine it's a lonely experience for them. But it was intense, and I struggled with depression, and it was a reactive depression. It was reactive to my life ending, my life in a tailspin, everything gone, my career gone. I lost almost all of my friends, because when you don't leave your house, you can't have friends. And it was during that time that I said, you know what, if there's any hope of me either beating this cancer or at least surviving for a few years, I have to do something. So I just said, you know what, here on our property, I'm going to build my dream stone cottage. And I'm going to build it from scratch. Not, of course, restoration. There wasn't a stone cottage here to restore. And I'm going to build it as if it was an old stone cottage in Scotland, per se. So I named this, based on the lake I live on, is Loch Ear, because there's a Loch Ear in Scotland. And I call myself the hermit of Loch Ear at times. But my background, I'm an amateur builder. I've done some, simple construction kind of stuff, but nothing like building a cottage from scratch. So I'm going to take you along on this journey if you want to come. If you're a skilled carpenter, you'll cringe. I watch YouTube videos usually a couple of days in advance before I try a enormous feat of raising walls and putting up roofs and things like that. And I'm frail. I hate to admit that as a man, that I'm frail, but I'm weak. I've gotten stronger as I've been building the cottage. The exercise has done it, but I've had multiple injuries, fallen off scaffolding, tore meniscus in my knee, foot injury, hamstring pull, all these things. And at my age, I'm 60, I don't know, 67, 68, I don't know. That all these injuries don't go away very easily. So come along with me. I'm going to try to take you back to the beginning. I didn't videotape from the beginning because I didn't have a camera. But I do have a lot of still photos and a few little videos I made with my phone that I can try to put together and go back to the beginning of this process and come along with where I'm at today. Today I'm about halfway done. I'm not going to show you the cottage because it'd be a spoiler where I'm at. You can see maybe behind me some of the framing, and there's a big going to be a French door behind me that I wish it was a little bit earlier and you could see the glorious view of a lake and a mountain. But you have a good day. If you want to follow me, come along.